Hello subscribers, this month I am bringing you an exclusive video on the Saudi royal family, who I have also met in London. This is the story of one family, one desert, and one 300-year climb from a small mud brick town to the command of the world's oil markets and some of the most valuable land on earth. Along the way, there will be exile, betrayal, war, and reinvention. This is the rise of the House of Saud. The foundation. Our story begins not in a palace but in a small oasis town called Diriyah, on the edge of the Najd Desert, in the heart of the Arabian Peninsula. The year is 1744. Arabia at this time was not a country. It was a patchwork of tribes, oases, and small fortified towns, loosely watched over, but never truly controlled, by the distant Ottoman Empire. Power belonged to whichever local ruler could hold his walls and keep his alliances intact. In Diriyah, the ruler was a man named Mohammed bin Saud, head of a modest but respected clan. Around the same time, a religious scholar named Muhammad ibn Abd al-Wahhab was traveling through the region, preaching a strict, back-to-basics interpretation of Islam. He had already been thrown out of several towns for his teachings. They were seen as too radical, too disruptive to the status quo. But in Diriyah, Ibn Saud saw something Ibn Abd al-Wahhab's other hosts didn't: opportunity. The two men struck a pact. Ibn Saud would protect and promote the preacher's religious mission. In return, Ibn Abd al-Wahhab would lend religious legitimacy to Ibn Saud's political ambitions. It was a marriage of sword and scripture, and it would define Arabian politics for the next 3 centuries. This alliance became known as the First Saudi State. Fueled by religious conviction and tribal military alliances, it expanded rapidly across the Najd, absorbing rival towns one by one. By the early 1800s, Saudi forces had pushed all the way to the holy cities of Mecca and Medina, and even raided as far as Karbala in modern-day Iraq. This was no longer a local squabble. It was now a direct challenge to the authority of the Ottoman Empire, which considered itself the guardian of Islam's holiest sites. The Ottomans could not ignore it. In 1811, the Ottoman Sultan ordered his powerful vassal, Muhammad Ali of Egypt, to crush the upstart Saudi state. What followed was a brutal years-long campaign. Egyptian artillery, modern for its time, proved devastating against Arabian tribal forces. In 1818, Egyptian troops finally captured and leveled Diriyah itself. The Saudi leader was captured, sent to Istanbul, and executed. The first Saudi state was gone. Its capital lay in ruins. To any outside observer, the story of the House of Saud should have ended right there, in the rubble of a desert town. It didn't. The struggle and the return out of the ashes of Diriyah. Surviving members of the Al Saud family regrouped nearby in Riyadh and rebuilt, cautiously this time, establishing what historians call the Second Saudi State. But this new chapter was plagued by something the family had rarely faced before: itself. Bitter succession disputes broke out between rival branches of the family, brother turning against brother, cousin against cousin. This internal chaos was exactly the opening their rivals needed. The Al-Rashid family, based in the northern town of Hale and backed by the Ottomans, exploited the infighting and steadily expanded their own power at Saudi expense. By 1891, it was over. The Al-Rashid forces decisively defeated the Al Saud, and the family that had once ruled much of Arabia was forced to flee into exile. They found refuge with the ruling family of Kuwait. For over a decade, the once powerful House of Saud lived as guests in someone else's court, their kingdom gone, their fortunes at their lowest point in generations. It was here in exile that the man who would change everything came of age. Abdulaziz ibn Saud. Young, ambitious, and determined to reclaim his family's legacy, Abdulaziz refused to accept exile as permanent. In 1902, with a small band of loyal followers, some accounts put the number at fewer than 60 men, he launched a daring night raid on Riyadh. Scaling the walls of the Masmak fort under cover of darkness, his men overwhelmed the al-Rashid governor in a swift, decisive strike. By morning, Riyadh was back in Saudi hands. This single act of audacity kicked off a nearly 30-year campaign of conquest and diplomacy. Abdulaziz proved to be not just a skilled warrior, but a shrewd political operator. He formed alliances, married strategically to bind rival tribes to his cause, and rebuilt the old religious political partnership his ancestors had once forged with the Wahhabi movement. This time using a devoted fighting force known as the Ikhwan. Region by region, town by town, Abdulaziz reunified the Arabian Peninsula under his control. He took the Hijaz region, home to Mecca and Medina, in 1925, and in 1932, he formally declared the unification of his territories under a new name, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, with his own family's name written permanently into its identity. From exiled guests in a foreign court to the rulers of an entire kingdom, the House of Saud had returned. But the kingdom they now controlled was poor, mostly desert, and largely dependent on income from pilgrims visiting the holy cities. No one yet knew what lay beneath the sand. Oil and the modernization era that changed in 1938. American geologists working with the Standard Oil Company of California struck oil at a well called Dammam No. 7 in the country's eastern province. It would prove to be one of the largest oil discoveries in human history. Saudi Arabia, until then one of the poorest nations on earth, was sitting on reserves that would eventually be estimated at over 260 billion barrels. The company formed to extract it eventually became known as Aramco, the Arabian American Oil Company, and it would go on to become the most valuable company on the planet. Oil revenue transformed the kingdom almost overnight, giving the Saudi state resources previous generations of the family could never have imagined. King Abdulaziz, the same man who had once retaken Riyadh with 60 men, lived to see the first oil wealth begin flowing in, though the scale of what was coming was still unclear. After his death in 1953, his sons would rule the kingdom in succession, each shaping it in different ways. King Faisal, who reigned from 1964 to 1975, is often credited with driving major modernization, expanding education, building infrastructure, and using oil as a tool of geopolitical leverage, most notably during the 1973 oil embargo, which sent shock waves through the global economy and demonstrated Saudi Arabia's newfound importance on the world stage. Through the following decades, the kingdom used its oil wealth to build modern cities, a national airline, universities, and a sovereign wealth infrastructure, while carefully balancing its strict religious identity with its growing role in international diplomacy and finance. The most dramatic recent chapter has come under the current era of leadership, with sweeping economic and social reforms bundled under the banner of Vision 2030, an ambitious plan to diversify the economy away from oil dependency, opening the country to tourism, entertainment, and foreign investment on a scale that would have been unthinkable to earlier generations of the family. Today, the House of Saud sits at the center of a nation that didn't exist a century ago, controlling one of the world's most influential energy suppliers, one of its largest sovereign wealth funds, and a growing say in global affairs, from finance to sport to diplomacy. From a desert pact between a tribal chief and a preacher in 1744, through defeat, exile, and a daring reconquest, to oil wells that reshaped the modern world. The story of the Saudi royal family is really the story of Arabia itself, fractured, humbled, and ultimately reborn as a global power. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the history of the Saudi royal family, make sure to subscribe for more exclusive royal history content every month. See you in the next video.